Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back. This is Talk Your Shit with Deja, where we chop the eye because not only can I talk our shit, but I want you to talk your shit too. Hope you are doing lovely on this beautiful Wednesday. I am doing, oh my gosh, I ain't gonna lie, it's been a tough week. It's it's been a week. Um, but we're not gonna discuss that. We're gonna be all smiles and we're gonna continue talking about aces and everything. And when I get done with aces, we can always circle back if I remember to, this week, because woo, this week was one for the books, but yeah. On top of I lost my voice, so I almost didn't record, but then I was just like, yo, I'm really just trying to stick to being consistent. So whether I have a good voice or not, I just want to be consistent. So I was like, they just go get whatever voice they get. Though I don't think I sound that bad. Like my voice is getting better, but ooh, if I would have recorded this when I was supposed to record this, oh, my voice sounded, it wasn't even a sound. It was just some, it was some something. So, but yeah, um, I'm recording because I'm trying to stay consistent. Well, not trying, I'm staying consistent and putting out, whether I have the best voice or the worst voice, or I got to re record like I did last week, whatever. I'm getting it out. Um, and that's the mentality that you should have when you're passionate about something and you really care about something, regardless of the circumstances. Get that shit out. But enough of that. Back to aces. So this week, I want to talk about sexual abuse and my run in with sexual abuse and what that looks like, the example that can recall, how it still plays a part in my life to this day. To this day. Um, because it does still play a part in my life. I'm definitely aware. I think previously I was not aware of the correlation all the way together. Like I can remember going through certain situations with people and I would slowly be trying to put the pieces together. Because see me, I'm a put the pieces together type of person. So as they come in, I'm trying to add in all of the different components and everything like that. So little by little of each experience, I was slowly the the picture was becoming more clear and the vision was definitely not as blurry. But now I think I totally see, why I was reacting or why I possibly could still be reacting to sex in a certain way and everything and the correlation and like what it really means and stuff like that. Do I know if it's correct all the way? No, because I ain't gonna talk to no professional or nothing. So I don't even know if the correlation that I'm making is 100% correct. But to my knowledge and my information and just putting two and two together, the two correlate so much that it makes sense. So I want to go through the information because I thought I was gonna get away from pulling up websites, but the part of me that just love a good website just ain't gonna die. Like it's not gonna die. So of course, I found a website um to kind of go through exactly what sexual abuse looks like in childhood. And then I'm gonna go through my story. Then I'm gonna tell you all how it still impacts me and just kind of go through that information because like I said, it still comes up for me to this day. Like literally my last sexual encounter, like I went through like a whole moment. So that's why I said I think I may have PTSD to like towards that situation just because of the physiological things that come up, the psychological things that come up, like I think that I do have PTSD from that situation. So I'm slowly figuring out how to work through it. I know a lot of it is just like not establishing a foundation with certain, like, not with certain people, but with people before I even interact with them sexually. And so that could be what's like causing a lot of the emotions from that situation to come up. But like I said, I'll go through all of that. I don't want to get too sidetracked. So on the website, I just want to go through like some of the things that I think would be most important to pass along to you all. Um, which is basically what is sexual abuse. Did I wait a minute, y'all? Wait a minute. Did I save it? Okay, give me one moment. So I'm gonna just like pull up the website because I saved the wrong thing. Um, but yeah, I just want to go through the website. So, but I don't want it to be dead silent. So you're gonna hear me just randomly talking. Childhood sexual abuse, bam. There we go, y'all. Okay, so it says, so what is childhood sexual abuse? So it says, sexual abuse in childhood is considered any completed or attempted sexual act, sexual contact with, or exploitation of a child. This type of abuse often involves the perpetrator using force or making threats. Um, so different types of of childhood sexual abuse. It says different types, but aren't limited to. So, like I mentioned, like before with ACEs, when I'm like going over these websites, these are things that are listed that, you know, people have come across, but it doesn't automatically mean that that's the only thing that could be considered sexual abuse. So again, open up the dialogue with the children around you to really be able to ask some real questions, especially in regards to sex, considering that we're a sex filled society right now. I think the conversation surrounding sex, especially when it comes to children, is so important because they're probably getting exposed to it at such a fast rate. Like, I recall being exposed to sex when I was like six-ish, seven-ish, or whatever the case may be. But that was also when, like, you know, pornography was on disc. You know, when you needed a DVD in order to watch pornography. Like, but now you have a cellular device and tablets and stuff where it's literally at your fingertips and where they don't even have to go specifically to pornographic sites to see sexually explicit stuff. So it's just like be able to open up that conversation because what I'm going to say, the different types of sexual abuse, it may not even be like some of the stuff that may come up these days may not even be on this website just because of how fast everything is evolving and growing and how technology really is playing a part and then being exposed to sex at such a young age. So, but different types of abuse include exposing a child to sexual activity or sexual content either in person or online, incest, producing, owning, or distributing child pornography, rape, sex trafficking or prostitution of a child, sexual assault, including intercourse, fondling, masturbation of oneself, or forcing a minor to masturbate, sexual harassment, such as calling or messaging a minor with obscene content. Using physical force or causing physical injury is not required for an act to be considered sexual abuse of a child. Legally, any sexual act between a child under the age of consent, which is going to vary from state to state because different states have different ages of consent, um, and an adult is considered sexual abuse because children cannot provide consent. Um, So, some signs that you could look out for that could possibly, allude to a child going through or has gone through sexual abuse. Again, to start the conversation, open up a conversation, call someone for help, reach out, in any way to get assistance for that child, some things to look out for. Does it mean that they have? No. But if you see a child going through these things, start the conversation. Reach out to the parents so they can start the conversation. Reach out to somebody so someone can have the conversation. Because the last thing you want to do is for the child to be going through something and they have to go through it alone and they have nobody helping them to navigate the situation. So you're going to want to get get intervention in there as soon as possible, adult intervention, so that they can get all of the help that they need in that moment, even if it's just conversation and support to let them know like you're not in this alone. Like get something in there if you see these things pop up for children around you. So um, it says abnormal sexual knowledge or behavior. So I would say abnormal would be like, I know like one of the things that came up when I was working at my last job, it was a participant that knew about BDSM. And if I think for them, they thought that that was abnormal because why would maybe I want to say the kid could have only been like 17, 18 or somewhere in there. Like, why does that kid know about BDSM and wanting to be a submissive or whatever it was? But, abnormal sexual knowledge or behaviors, avoidance of physical contact. So if they don't like to be touched, I'm sure that can correlate to other things. But again, it's something to start a conversation. Attempts to run away, bleeding or bruising of genitals. So with girls, I think you have to pay attention, especially if it's around the time of puberty. Pay attention to if blood or something shows up and you know their menstrual cycle is off. So parents, like if you're washing clothes and everything and you know your daughter has started her menstrual cycle, pay attention to bleeding and stuff if her menstrual cycle is not on. Or if you know her menstrual cycle has not started, if she's bleeding and stuff, pay attention to that too. Because I think bleeding can kind of like people can kind of slide through with bleeding because we have menstrual cycle and that comes out once a month. But if you're knowledgeable of your kids and paying attention to their behaviors and patterns and stuff like that, you're gonna know when your daughter is having a menstrual cycle to know, is this blood from there or is this blood from a different situation? I do get kids will try to hide stuff, but you should be knowledgeable of what's going on in your household as a parent. So I think that sometimes we don't think to look at the underwear before you wash them and stuff, but be mindful if you see other things too. Because I would say, like, if you don't see other things, then maybe you're not going to think to look at the underwear to check for blood. But, these are things to think about. So, yeah. Um, so blood on underwear or torn underwear. So I guess that kind of goes together. Changes in hygiene, such as frequent bathing or no bathing at all, frequent yeast infections. Definitely pay attention to that for girls. Again, I think girls, like, we have such telltale signs that if you miss our sexual abuses, it's like houseway because any little thing, granted, any little thing can throw off our PHS, but we also know that intercourse is going to be the biggest thing to throw off our pH. Between that and a diet, but a kid, if you know that you have your children's on a good diet and stuff like that, if you notice that they keep getting yeast infections, be cautious or be like questioning like where is that coming from because there's only a few things that's going to throw off the pH. So be mindful of that. Pain or burning in the genital area, which can allude to infections and stuff like that. So definitely pay attention to that. Immediately take your child to go get tested and stuff like that, because that stuff can fester and everything like that. So yeah, self harm, signs of depression, signs of post traumatic stress disorder, sudden phobias or fears, sudden trouble at school, suicide ideations, trouble walking or sitting. So again, if there's other things that you may notice that may not be on this list, start the conversation. But that's really all that I wanted to pass along for the most part when it comes to um, the sexual abuse, the things, the signs to look out for, and stuff like that. But I do want to go into my own thing because I don't want to talk too much about the website, especially because it's supposed to be talk your shit. So for me, I was sexually assaulted by my dad when I was around the age of 9 or 10, somewhere in there. Um, it wasn't. It did not get to penetration. Thank you, Jesus. Like thank you, God. It did not get to penetration. But it did get inappropriate. Um, I recall like little things that would happen. I can recall like, and it's weird because when you're little, you're especially too when you see things from other parents and stuff, so you don't think it's out of the ordinary. So like a dad hitting his daughter on the butt or stuff like that, you don't think that's out of the ordinary until you so it leads up to something crazy like, and so it really makes me think like, would I be okay with that? Like, I don't know, because it's like, it's weird because it happened to me. I don't even know if I would be okay if the father of my children even touched my daughter, like our daughter, like in that way. Like I wouldn't give a damn if it's a love pat or whatever. I don't know. Maybe when I get in this situation, I might react differently, but just thinking about it now, I don't even know if I would be comfortable if the father of my children would even playfully tap our daughter on her butt. That just, to me, now that it's all correlate, like it just wouldn't sit right with me. I think that would be like a boundary that we wouldn't want to cross, because I wouldn't even want you to get the idea. But when I was younger, he would do little things like that. And it's weird because I also have like, because I'm young, and I feel like for younger girls, we're able to wear, we get away with the shorter stuff. Like, I think before puberty, you get away with wearing like shorts and all the stuff. So, it just would be like stuff like that. Somewhere in my mind, it's like there was comments made about the outfits, but I couldn't tell y'all verbatim what was said because I genuinely don't remember, but I feel like there was comments made about like the short things I would wear and stuff like that. But um there was one incident, there like I mentioned last week, I think I mentioned there was two incidences that were suspect that when we had the court date, I told about the two incidences. There was one other one, but I can't recall exactly how that one went down. But the first incident that was like mildly inappropriate, but it was a he say versus she say, and I was half asleep, half not. So that's another thing too that I think I'll be mindful of when I have children is providing my children with their own room. I don't think people understand how unsafe it is for children to not have their own room until something happens when they're not in their room. Then you'd be like, okay, whatever. Granted, a lot of people can get sexually assaulted in their rooms, but when you don't have your own room, or when you're like a living room kid, that's what I call it. Like, I was a living room kid where, because majority of the places that we stayed, we didn't have like specifically our own rooms. I would gravitate towards the living room. Like, that would be my space, on top of, like, even if I did have my own room, the living room would have specific things in there that I would like more than my room. So, of course, the living room got the DVR where you could record stuff. The living room has more channels. The living room has more space. So, like, the living room tended to be the place where I would reside. And I didn't realize how vulnerable that made me until I was sexually assaulted in the living room. Um, and it's crazy because I was just talking about this to a person that I low key feel like that's why you won't catch me in the living room a lot now these days. Like, you're gonna catch me in my room more often than not before you catch me in anybody's living room nowadays. Like, even in my own home, I'll probably feel like a bit more safer to be in the living room, but you will not catch me in the living room. You're gonna catch me in my room, definitely. But I think that kind of made the my what is it relationship to the living room like very strained. Excuse me, sorry. But um, the first incident, we had this chase type of chair where it was like a chair with the leg piece out, whatever. I sleep on that chair, and um, I sleep upside down, so my head was on the leg part, and I was laying towards the chair. Like, visually, I'm trying to get y'all to see, but my head was on like the leg part, and then my body was going up it. But I was laying on my back, and I think my mouth was like open. Because when you sleep with your mouth open. Not everybody, but if you're on your back, I think majority of people that sleep on their back mouth be wide open. But I can recall opening up my eyes first. I'm dead still because I feel something moving around it, like in my, like around my mouth area. I feel something moving around, but I'm still is like I'm still as shit. So I can remember my eyes opening up, and I could see my dad kneel down on his knees, and he's in front of me moving something around my mouth. I move. He immediately jumps up, and then he's fixing his pants and walking into the kitchen. To this day, mind you, y'all, like these two incidents, to this day, he never admitted that he did anything. We went to court and everything. He never admitted he did anything. So I think that part sucks when it comes to like forgiveness, for real. Like, when you have to forgive somebody that doesn't even acknowledge that they did something wrong. What also sucks is because, like I said, I've had people in the house, because one of the aces was if you have a person in the household that has mental health issues. He has bipolar disorder. I don't know what he remembers off of genuinely not remembering it or suppressing it or whatever the case may be, because not only was he on medication, he was smoking marijuana and maybe still doing like crack and stuff like that. I don't even know. So honestly, I don't know what the fuck he remembers and what he doesn't. And that part sucks because it makes it even harder to forgive somebody that you don't even know how the hell they forgot that they did something so inappropriate to their own daughter. This makes it really hard, to forgive. But I'm like one foot in front of the other. Like, I'm gonna get to that forgiveness part, but in due time. Like, right now, to me, because you don't remember, that part is what makes me not forgive you. Because what the fuck do you mean you don't remember putting your daughter in such harm? But I digress. Back to the story. So that was the first incident. Sorry, y'all. Y'all know I go on tangents, but that was the first incident. The second incident is what I believe I developed PTSD from. So the second incident, again, I'm in the living room. Oh, y'all, if I could give y'all any words of wisdom, advice, anything, like keep the kids out of the living room, period. Like, put them in a room, have a camera in their room, whatever. Like, as they grow older, maybe remove the camera because, privacy, they need that privacy. But living room, they're so vulnerable there. There's no closed doors, there's no nothing. There's absolutely, like, yeah, keep the kids out of the living room. Like, my children, well, one, my children, well, my house probably will have cameras because I just see my house being big as fuck to have cameras. But, you know, I will also be mindful that they will not be sleeping in the living room unless it just so happened they fell asleep. But it will not be a everyday thing. Like, no, y'all will be in y'all rooms where I can have cameras and everything. Or I will be mindful of the people that is around my children. Like, I will be super duper mindful. Like, that's why me choosing the right partner is essential, because I shouldn't have to feel this way about protecting our children. Like, but you definitely got to make sure you're choosing the right person so that you don't have to be worried that the person that you decided to have children with is going to harm your children in any way. But yes, I was in the living room again on the same chase thing. Again, he comes in, he makes this pallet on the floor. He gets on the floor and he asks me to get on the ground with him. I think I said no initially, and he kept pushing it. And I think too, that's where I learned, going off on the tangent. Okay, let me finish. Okay, let me bring it all back together. Y'all, sorry. This is really how I talk to people. I break off, I get distracted, all things. Let me finish the story and then I'll go back to how it correlates to what I do now and everything. So he asked me to get on the floor. I was like, no, I don't really want to do that or whatever. And he keeps pushing, keeps pushing, keeps pushing. Okay, I get on the floor with him. I remember when I get down on the floor with him, I lay on my stomach because I remember when I first got down on the floor, his hand goes to my ass. That's uncomfortable. I flip over. Then I'm on my back and his hand goes on to like my vagina area. While his hand's on my vagina area, he's not moving it. So he's not trying to masturbate me or anything. It's just resting there. But while it's resting there, it sits there for a few seconds. Then we start shaking. So I'm aware of what the shaking could possibly mean. In my mind, I'm like, look up under the cover. But then I was like, don't look up under the cover. Don't like everything was like, look up under the cover, don't look up under the cover, like, because I know what's going on. But we're shaking. We're shaking. We're shaking. We're shaking. We're shaking. Then the shaking stops. I turn back over onto my stomach when the shaking stops. He touches my butt again. But this time there's like wetness. It's wetness on his hand. So it's wetness that gets on my shorts. If I'm not mistaken, when that happens, either he got up or I immediately got up and went to the bathroom. I don't know. Either way, I ended up in the bathroom. So I don't remember if he got up first or I got up. Um, but I go to the bathroom and it was cheer shorts. If I'm not mistaken, it was cheer shorts that I had on, like little Sophie shorts. And I see where the wet mark went on my back shorts part. And I'm like, I'm trying to see what the because everything in my mind, because I'm a child again, y'all. I gotta be 10, 9, but I'm like, I know. So I'm like, what is this? What is this? And I think I'm in the bathroom like crying, going through the motion. I'm like, what is this? What is this? What is this? So I'm trying to smell it. I'm like, what is this? I remember getting a rag. Now I'm trying to scrub it off because I know what it is at this point. So now I'm trying to scrub it off. Trying to make sure that nobody knows what the fuck just happened in that moment. Like, what's on my shorts? What just happened? How to hide it? And everything like that. So after that, I just remember like being dumbfounded. Like, what the fuck just happened? Can't tell nobody because I don't even know how to tell nobody that this shit just happened. But I do remember, like, thank you, Metro PCS. Well, it could have been any phone brand, but thank you, Metro PCS. It was ZTE flip phone that I had. I had a cell phone, flip phone, the ZTE, and it had the voice recording notes thing. So I was like, if I can't tell nobody, I'm going to tell this voice recording. So I remember it had the date on there that it happened. I think the time in which I recorded it. And then I just went through the whole situation and I just had the recording. I had it for, I can't tell you how many weeks or days or whatever I had it for. Um, I just know that there was a day I went over to my aunt's house on his side of the family, on his side, his sister. I went over to their house and I was with my cousin. I think my brother was there at the time because he was dating her because we don't have the same dad, so it's not weird. We don't have the same dad, so he was dating my cousin on my dad's side. So I think he was there, she was there. My aunt might have been gone, I might have been there, I don't remember. But me and my cousin were talking about something. I don't remember what we were talking about, but I can remember I'm always randomly bringing up something because me, one thing I've learned about myself is I can lie intentionally, but I'm very honest to a fault. Like, I am very honest to a fault, and it's a good thing because you shouldn't be a liar. But it's like I'm honest at the wrong times too. Well, it's the right times. Not gonna say it's the wrong time. It's the right times, but it's so random how real I be sometimes. But we were talking about something, and I brought it up, and she was just like, "Girl, you're not being serious." I don't even know how she worded it. I'm paraphrasing because again, I'm like 10. I don't remember how it went, but I was like, "No, for real. Like, it really happened to me. Like, I have the recording. Like, here, you want to listen?" So I play it for her. She hears it. She's listening. She's dumbfounded. She immediately calls my brother. My brother, my brother is the motherfucker's crazy. Like, he crazy as shit. But the one thing that I will say is that man will protect all the people around him if it's the last thing he does. Like, he loses his mind over the women in his life. Like, legit loses his mind over the women in his life. So as soon as he heard it, of course. Now mind you, if I'm 10, 11, somewhere in there, he's only 15 or so in there. 14, 15 ish. A little nigga, like little nigga, big energy. Like that's the best way I could describe it. Little nigga, big energy. But he immediately went into protect mode. So now he's like calling my mom, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. So we get back to the house, big blowout, everything. Of course, deny. Like I said, to this day he denies or doesn't remember or whatever you want to call it. I don't even know. And I don't know. Like, today, I don't know what it is because I don't talk to him. I think that when he denied that, then he called me all types of stuff out my name, like later on and everything. Like I lost respect. I lost all respect for him. So I really don't talk to him to this day. I personally said like the only reason why I would ever have a conversation would be for this podcast only, not to try and build anything with him. Because even if he did apologize and everything like that, it's just like, okay, okay. I would accept it, but I wouldn't feel the need to have to incorporate him into my life. Um, but yeah, since I have not been told that he accepts responsibility or anything like that, I still don't talk to him to this day. But um, I can remember the argument. Well, not the I can't remember argument, but I remember everything going down. And like I said, little brother, big energy. Like he's the older brother, but little brother, like he's little brother, big energy. So it's like he's trying to fight a grown ass man. My mom's just baffled and can't believe that it happened and all this other stuff. And she's just like, you got to get out the house. You got to go. Mind you, y'all, we're staying in his mother's house, though. So trying to kick him out of his mother's house is kind of hard. The only reason why he ended up being removed from the house is because he was reported to the police, and I think he got like a year and some change. So he ended up going to jail for it, for the situation. But again, like you can't really kick somebody out of their mother's house. It's kind of hard. But yeah. So that's the situation. That was my situation. Now, how it shows up as an adult, right? Why I think I have PTSD from it. I find myself in a lot of situations that really mimic that situation, where I emphasized that he asked me to get on the floor and I said no. He asked me again and I said no. He asked me again and I finally gave in. I noticed that I do that a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, if not with all of the men that I've had sexual encounters with. I do that a lot with them, where I say no, it's brushed off. I say no again, it's brushed off. And then I just fold because at that point, my no means nothing. And in my mind, I'm just like, I can't do nothing, when in reality, there's a lot I can do now as an adult, and I'm aware of it now. But when you're stuck in the cycle of unconscious behavior, you're really moving through life as that 10-year-old that went through that situation. You're not realizing that, okay, I'm an adult. I can control what happens in this moment. You're moving through it as that 10-year-old. So I'm like, no, I really don't want to do this. Nah, I don't really want to do this. Nah, I don't really. Okay, whatever. Do whatever. What I did notice after, it probably didn't start happening until, because, okay, so after I would have the sexual encounters or whatever, what I started to notice with certain people is that I would get very, well, during the act itself, I would be very, like in my head, I would be overthinking. So I don't even know how, like, I was even able to, for the most part, I wasn't even into the shit unless I made a conscious decision to be into the sexual act. Like, other than that, had I not made a conscious effort, I don't even think I would have orgasmed majority of the time that I've had sex with these people. If I had not made a conscious effort of like, okay, I'm in it now, let's enjoy it and keep it pushing. Had I not made that conscious effort, I would have never orgasmed, because I would be in my head just thinking about everything. Like, just thinking. Then when it ends, all of that thinking is now has now overwhelmed me to where I'm crying after the situation. So the last two people that I had sex with, I think it was the last two. The last two people I had sex with, the I would immediately cry. The first one, he noticed my crying and he was upset. I didn't even know how to communicate what was wrong with me. Honestly, like I said, I've been slowly putting the pieces together, so I couldn't even like communicate what was wrong. And I think he genuinely felt bad in the moment. He was just like, I just want to be able to help you, but I don't know how to. And I didn't know how to let him know like how to help me either. The second person, he didn't see me crying because I was in a different part. So in my room where I am now, I built a bed, but you can't see it. It's up there. I have like a loft style bed, if I'm not mistaken. He was on the bottom part, or I was on the top part, or I end up coming to the bottom. He was on top. I don't know, but either way, wherever I was crying, he was not able to see it. So he didn't even acknowledge. But I did have a conversation with him about it afterwards and everything. And he apologized. And I realized like it wasn't like I said last week or the week before last, I'm realizing like a lot of stuff is not their burdens to bear. It's my shit. Like when you realize like what part you have to play, like you really got to take responsibility for it, because people can reassure you and everything, yes, but you got to be mindful enough to put yourself in the healthiest situations so that you can set yourself up for success and they can just add to. If you're not even setting yourself up for success, then you can't even expect for them to come in and save the day. um but that those two were not where it started. It started with my first boyfriend. I can recall there would be times where I didn't want to have sex in a relationship. Like I think that's fair. Like I think sometimes people don't get like, bitch, we do not want to bust it wide open every day. It's not realistic. I don't want to bust it wide open every day. I'm not trying to have sex all the time. So if I say no, I'm good, like no, I'm good. And I think because people put a title on a relationship, some people think you're entitled to sex just because we're in a relationship, and it's like that's not realistic. Like I'm not withholding it by any means, but if I'm just not in the mood, I'm not in the mood. But if you keep pushing me to have sex, I'm gonna be like, okay. Then when I lay there like a starfish because I really didn't want to do this, when I'm not engaged, or now at the end of it, now I'm crying because I really didn't want to do this, but no was not good enough for you. Like it's just like you you start to really piece together. Like I'm saying, like being able to really go through the situation with my dad, going through the situations with men now, you just start to realize how much of it is really correlated. Like, baby, when I tell you your life really is you going through the exact same situations, learning how to do something different. You're going through the exact same situations, learning how to do something different each time. Period, point blank. Like your life is literally on repeat. Like it's on repeat. And sometimes you're going to like fail terribly because you don't even realize you're in the exact same situation, because it's different people, it's different circumstances, different things. Like you don't even realize like this is a test. Are you gonna pass or are you gonna fail? I have been failing so much, and it's not until you really take a step back and really start unpacking all your shit to realize, like, yo, I've been failing this test. And it's a test where I'm literally being tested for the same thing because it kept coming up where people come into my life. I get put in this situation where I keep saying, no, not right now. I really don't want to do it right now. Or, no, I really don't want to, cross that line and everything like that. But no ain't enough. So what I am learning or trying to figure out is in those moments of no, if I say no, do I get up and leave? Do I remove myself? What do I do? Because honestly, where I think I fail the test is I look for them to protect me in those moments. Because when you're going through that shit as a kid, right? You're looking to your dad to stop being a creep and save you. Like, you don't think he's going to continue being a pervert and, take advantage of the situation. No, you're thinking like, yo, this is my dad. He's going to stop and come to his assistance. Like, he's going to save me. Like, and when you become older and you run into the exact same test, you look for the other person to save you because you are hoping that in that moment your dad would have saved you or whomever the perpetrator was. You're hoping that person would have saved you. And when they don't, you kind of just go through the exact same thing you went through before. Now I have to learn how to be my own savior in that moment when it comes up again, because I'm sure it's gonna come up again because I haven't passed the test. All I did was become aware of the test that keeps coming up. But so it's either not allowing myself to get to a place of even being that close to where if I genuinely don't want to have sex, I don't have to. So that's like moving slower, maybe holding off. I don't know if I'm holding off to marriage. Like, one wants to hold off to marriage, but when you have tasted I'm sorry, when you have crossed that line, it's so hard to step back over it. But it's like, wait till marriage, maybe. I don't know. Um, for like really set a foundation with that person, figure out who that person is, um, get to know that person before crossing boundaries. So maybe not having sex on the first date, because your senses kick in and you're just like, I don't even know you. I don't even know where this is going. Okay, you get the sex. What happens next? Like, all of the anxiety and stuff that comes in. Like, maybe if I get to know you, maybe if we get to an actual relationship, figure out different ways to save myself before I get to that point. Because I do realize that that test, I keep getting tested because I'm not saving myself. I'm waiting to be saved. And people that don't know me from a can of paint are not going to be willing to save me. Like, they're in it trying to get pleased. And I'm in it over here taking a test to make sure I'm protecting myself. On top of the fact that sex feels good. So I'm over here taking a test of, okay, you really don't want to do this because you're just not meeting this person for the first day, but they're over here by like doing biological things because our body reacts. Like, you touch it a certain way, it's gonna react. You kiss on it a certain way, it's gonna react. So it's like you're battling so much at that moment that it's just like, okay, how do I mitigate having to even think about all this when it's time to be intimate with somebody? If I do, because that no, like I said, it came up in a relationship too. That even when I'm in that situation, knowing how to stand firm on my no, because if I am in the relationship with them and I say no, if it is disregarded, to not fold and just give in because I don't want to keep saying no. I have to learn how to stand 10 toes on my no. Like, no is the most powerful word that you could ever utilize. And when you fold on that, people fold on how they respect you. And so you really got to learn how to stand 10 toes on your no so that people can respect you, and give you the things that you need. So that's what I'm learning, is that when I'm really in those moments of no, I really don't want to do this right now, them being okay with it. And if they're not okay with it, maybe that includes me going to a different room if we're in a relationship or staying together, or really letting them know, like, yo, can we really not do this? Because if I do this and I really don't want to, one, I'm not going to be engaged in it. Two, it's probably going to make me feel very overwhelmed emotionally, which is going to cause me to cry at the end. Really being vulnerable and letting them know, like, what could possibly happen if we decide to bypass this no right now in this moment. Before I couldn't articulate that because I hadn't come to the conclusion that my no really was going to make me, like, my no being pushed to the side was really going to make me feel the way that I did. But now I'm like aware that my no means a lot and it needs to be taken seriously. And in order for somebody else to take it seriously, I have to take it seriously first. So it's so many different things that I've been thinking about on how to mitigate being overwhelmed sexually, because sex is a part of relationship, and I really don't want to be overwhelmed every time I have sex for the first time or at some point in my relationship. Like, I genuinely don't want to be overwhelmed like that. I want to be able to have like sex and enjoy it or just be let down or whatever. I just don't want to be to continue to be an overwhelming experience. Um I mean, after the first time though, what I will say is that the anxiety, the overwhelming and everything, it kind of goes away. Because then I realized, okay, you know what? I kind of do want this and everything. Did I want it at that moment? No. And that's where I'm learning to really do the work and learn how to slow down with people. Because it's not necessarily that I don't want to have sex with people, it's that at the moment that we're doing it, I don't want to. And so that's what's making me overwhelmed. So it's like learning to slow down, learning to process, learning to really work through that so it doesn't keep overwhelming me. Because I do realize that it's tied to that situation. And I don't want to be constantly reminded of my sexual assault when I'm trying to connect with people. But if I move differently, I won't be reminded because it will be a whole different type of situation that I would be okay. Funny enough, the only person that I haven't had that with was guy number two. And I think that's what makes it so weird with him is that he was the only person that, when it came to sexual stuff, always respected everything. Like, always respect. Like, before he even touched, like, is it okay to touch you here? Is it okay to do this? Is it okay to do that? Is it okay? Is it okay? Is it okay? Like, to this day, if we were to get sexual, he would ask for consent first. And I just find that to be so respectful that every time he asks, was it okay? Granted, I do get for some people, they think like, oh, if I ask for consent, it's going to be weird. Like, no, no, especially for somebody who, when I say no, or when my thoughts and everything towards the action is not even considered, for you to even ask me, like, is it okay? Like, to consider how I would feel when it comes to such a intimate encounter, that is so beautiful. To be like, to ask for consent is so beautiful to me. I love that. So don't be scared to ask for consent, especially when dealing with somebody who's had sexual abuse, because though to you it might feel like, oh, I'm ruining the moment and stuff like that. Like, for some women, like, they're gonna be so grateful that you even considered them enough, because there were people that didn't give a fuck whether they said yes or no. They just went ahead. So it's like, I like consent. I like consent. Like, I like when people ask me that. It makes me happy. It makes me feel good. And I like being able to say, like, go ahead. Like, go ahead. Like, proceed. Like, do whatever. So it's like, that to me is the best. And like, at different points, like, I was asked consent, but again, it was just like, when I did say no, it was not taken seriously, which is what made all of the everything else that followed overwhelming. But yeah. But if I'm not mistaken, when I put out the ACEs video, I said that a lot of the what could be going on in today's society or the climate when it comes to like sexuality and everything, I wonder how much of it is tied to sexual abuse, right? Like everybody's so sexually liberated and everything like that. Granted, it might be some people that's out there just throwing it just to throw. I do wonder how many people are out here in this world throwing it because they have gone through trauma, sexual abuse when they were younger, and they, like me, are going through test after test after test after test after test after test, trying to learn how to, not even trying to learn, but being presented with the same test so that they can figure out how to save themselves or whatever the case may be. Like for me, I'm like, I feel like I would be way more sexually involved with people if I came across people at like a faster rate than I do. Like I'm grateful and I'm not grateful sometimes at how slow I come across people, but I am so grateful because if I came across more people that I was physically attracted to and everything, I would be out here dying about it. Like I legit probably would be out here thought and bobbing because I would have been out here moving subconsciously where that test would have been presented. Where I'm like, I genuinely don't want to do this because I would really like to see where this goes because I really want to be in a relationship because I really want to be married one day. But I know you want sex, and I'm a people pleaser, and I feel like I just gotta give you what you like. It's so much of a planet where I feel like I would be thought and bopping for real because I would be thinking that the sex is what keeps the person and everything. Like so much would be tied to it just off of that one sexual assault. It makes me think like how many people are moving off of their sexual abuse rather than genuinely wanting to have sex with all these people. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. And I don't think it's nothing that people could do like a survey, like survey says. Like I don't think it's something people could do a survey on because I don't know how honest people would be or how you would even formulate questions to figure out that. But when you realize just how many people go through sexual assault, abuse, anything like that, it makes sense why we're so sexually driven. Like, sexual abuse is so common amongst children. Like, people are nasty as fuck. Like, when I was watching Iyala Fix My Life, at just about every episode, and that could have been on purpose. Granted, it could have been on purpose. I don't know. Just about every episode included somebody who was sexually assaulted, abused, or whatever when they were younger. It's so common in especially our community. I'm sure it's common in general because people are perverts, but it's so common in our community to be sexually assaulted, abused, and everything. It's like no wonder like why we're so sexually driven. If at 6, 7, or 8, somewhere in there, you were introduced to sex. At this point, you're conditioned because you're around it. Now, when you get older, because your body actually likes sex and all this stuff, so you start thinking like, "Yo, I really like this. Like, I really want to partake. I really want to do this, that, and the third." And you don't even realize like a lot of what's driving that is that little kid in you that was assaulted, that is looking to be saved right now. And again, it's not for everybody out there that's out there just hanging and banging. Some of y'all out there hanging and banging and y'all just nasty. But I know I'm not the only person that the little kid in them is what's guiding them to be in majority of the sexual encounters that they've been in. Had I one, because I was offered therapy when I went through the sexual assault. I didn't know that I truly needed therapy until I was a grown ass person. And I wasn't forced to do it by no means. It was like, okay, if you want to do it, do it. If you don't. And I was like, okay, I don't even know what therapy is. I don't even know how this is going to help. So I didn't. But had I known like the little girl in me was finna guide all of my sexual encounters, I really would have taken like that opportunity to do therapy so that I would have been able to mitigate a lot of the shit I went through like as an adult. Like I would have definitely taken it up because that little girl is really just trying to be protected every time I'm in a sexual encounter. And I think I get so overwhelmed because I think I let her down just about every time. Not every time, but just about every time I've let her down in those moments where she needed to be protected. I've let her down. And now that I'm aware, now the biggest thing is figuring out how to show up for her and protect her so that she doesn't keep getting let down, so that she's not running the show and I'm running the show. But how many people out there right now are letting their 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year old run their sexual life because that person is trying to show up and be protected every time you deal with a new person sexually? It makes you really wonder. Like, honestly, your subconscious runs your life until you're like, hold up, wait a minute. Why the fuck do I keep doing the same shit? Why the fuck do I keep getting tested in the same way that I'm getting tested? Like, why does the same thing keep presenting itself to me time and time and time and time and time again? Like, cause like when they really be like, you're the problem, baby, you're the problem. And it's not even in a bad way, but it's something your subconscious is trying to get you to see that you keep letting go to the side and keep letting it go to the side and keep like it's not until you really become conscious of the behavioral patterns that you have that you are going to be able to heal that little person inside of you that went through all the fuck shit as kids. Like you have to be mindful and intentional about every action that you have as an adult. And by no means is it easy to be conscious, especially when this is like we're like in the era of unconsciousness. We're always distracted. We're so in the era of just letting our subconscious run our goddamn life that to be mindful of your choices and actions, everything is so hard. But when you notice like you keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, like at some point you gotta be like, wait a minute, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Shout out Taylor. But like you really gotta be like, wait, it is me. What is it about my subconscious that is because your subconscious, like your brain literally is always in protective mode, right? The only thing about your brain though that's really weird is that while it's trying to protect you, it'll continuously put you in the unsafe like in the unsafe predicaments that made you feel unprotected in the first place. But I think it's for you to learn how to protect yourself in those moments, like how to protect yourself in those situations. And that's like the test and everything, like for you to consciously show up, that adult in you to consciously show up and protect yourself from whatever happened in the past. Because, like, when they say history repeats itself, we need to stop thinking that they're talking about just on a grand scale. No, baby. They're talking like individually, too. History will repeat itself factually. Everything I went through in the past is constantly being redone every day by somebody new. And I think it takes you off guard because it's by somebody new. It's not the exact same person. So you're just like, oh, this is a whole new experience. Like, no, bitch. History is repeating itself. But how you get out of that cycle and break it before you even get stuck in the disappointment is by you being conscious that this is some shit I've already dealt with. Let me figure out how to deal with this so that I'm not taking the L at the end of it. Or like the bad L. No, L in general. We already got the lesson. Ain't nobody trying to keep learning. So it's like, how do I not take the L at the end? Be mindful. I'm mindful now of these situations. So now I have to intentionally figure out how to navigate sex because I know that if I put myself in situations where I genuinely don't want to do it and end up doing it anyway, it's gonna overwhelm me. I'm gonna cry. Now I'm going through the motions. I won't do it every time. So now I have to take responsibility for that and figure out how to put myself in better situations. And that's not just for me. That's for y'all too. If you notice that when you are doing certain things, you keep getting the same results, pause, take a step back, and really evaluate where did this first show up? How did I handle it then? How can I handle it now? When I was younger, I couldn't have handled it, or I didn't think I could because I was just a kid. This is my dad. I didn't think I had no power in the situation. But now I'm an adult. And for me to still think I don't have power in this situation is not healthy at all. I got to take my power back so that I don't feel like I'm letting myself down. Because as much as I would love for the men that I come across to save me in those situations, when I say no, for them to just be like, okay, I respect that. Not everybody is going to do that. And when they don't do that, I got to respect me enough to be like, okay, I'm not going to fold it, just give it to you. I got to be like, okay, you didn't like no, I'm going to go. Like, and show up for myself differently. So that's what I'm working through when it comes to my sexual abuse. That's how it still shows up for me. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. No, I'm just kidding. But yes, so I'm just learning really to take responsibility because, yeah, you can point the finger out. What they say when one finger's pointed out is three pointed back at you. So, you really got to be mindful of how you're moving through life and how much is self-inflicted, because a lot of it could be self-inflicted. And when you realize just how much really is self-inflicted, you really just be like, okay, damn, I love myself more than this. I love myself enough to show up differently for myself. And that's how you grow up that little girl inside of you. I love you enough to show up for you in those moments that I know were hard for you, but they're easy for me to deal with. That's how you grow that little girl or little boy up, you know? So I'm working on that and going through that. I don't get to practice it as often because I don't come across people that often because I am very much inside these days. But as I start interacting with people, being mindful of that, it'll help me to move differently. But yeah, that's all I have for this week, y'all. Um, I'm actually proud that I didn't cry, but I think I've been talking about my sexual assault so much that I think I'm like through the emotion of it. I think through the heavy emotion of it. I think I'm really coming to terms with it was something that happened. It's not something that defines me. It's something I'm still navigating in my present day life, but it's not something that's going to hold me down. It's not going to stop me from getting to my husband for real, because, it's not going to stop me. But yeah, but that's how going through the emotions and figuring it out and everything really helps you to heal because previously I would have been dropping tears. I would have felt like I would have been so still wrapped up in the emotions, but I've been talking about it so much, and I've been slowly stripping away its power and giving the power back to myself that I don't even feel no heavy emotions towards it or to him. Honestly, I don't got no emotions to feel towards nobody. Like, I'm really just trying to fix myself so much that all these heavy feelings and stuff towards people, I ain't got time for it no more. Like, I just, I'm trying to get to a better space that hanging on to stuff ain't serving me in no way, shape, or form. So I don't even got too much heavy stuff towards him. Like, I still personally don't forgive him now. That don't mean excuse me, give it a little bit of time that I won't later. But yeah, I'm just learning to just let go of heavy stuff because it'll weigh you down. And we're trying to vibrate high around that high was terrible. We're trying to vibrate high around here, and holding on to all that shit is only gonna keep you low level. But that's all I got for y'all this week. I hope you all were able to take something away from it. Or I hope I encourage you to share your story with those around you. Or you can leave it in the comments or email me or whatever. Just reach out because I'm here if you need it. Um, but yeah, uh, definitely check me out on all streaming platforms. Like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I really want to grow this and get this out to everybody and help in any way that I can. Um, but yeah, um, next week, I'm gonna go through neglect, but I'm gonna keep it together. I don't think I really need to separate it because I don't really think like I was probably emotionally neglected, but I don't think I was physically neglected by no means. So it'll be something quick. I just want to get the information out just to go through that one because I think that's why I am very scared to tell people my feelings, my stuff is because of neglect. But we'll go through it more next week. But yeah, that's all I have for y'all this week. My voice is starting to die. I'm thirsty. I gotta tap out. But like I said, I was gonna get the episode out to y'all because I gotta stay consistent because I love it. I love it. And I love y'all. Whomever y'all is, I love y'all. So yes, I gotta stick to it, but I gotta tap out. So yes. See y'all next week, Wednesday, 7 o'clock. I'll be back to talk about emotional and physical neglect. But yes, this is Talk Your Shit with Deja, where we drop the I because not only can I talk my shit, but I want you to talk your shit too. Until next time, bye.